what and why we did what we did. First of all, kind of backtrack a little bit. At the convocation back in September, I made the remarks to the faculty and staff at that time that even though we're really proud of celebrating our 150th anniversary last year, and the university accomplished a great deal, so much so that it actually attracted me to come to this university, we did face some really tough realities and situations that faced the university. And again, this is not just impacting Rider University. These changes taking place in the higher education field today are impacting on most universities. And that comes with the difficult economic times that we're all operating in, university and otherwise. The unfavorable demographic trends, the declining number of high school graduating seniors taking place throughout the country, started back in 2009, and that's going to continue well to the next 20 years. And if you look at the Northeast, particularly in the New Jersey market where we operate, that's even magnified. And we factor in about 75% of our students come from New Jersey. It means a declining pool of students that we're all vying for competition with the publics in the states. And just, as I mentioned, a very, very competitive landscape that's taking place in trying to attract the best and the brightest, to be able to retain them, to graduate them, to give them the kinds of experiences they need in order to go on with their lives and get through college. So when you look at our numbers over the last 6 years, we've had declining enrollments. We've lost about 360 students in the last 6 years, and that's just the undergraduate students in this university. And then this year, it was even more magnified, where we saw a shortfall of our freshman class at a time when we had the record number of applications, the record number of admits, and the largest amount of financial aid that we give to our admissions, our admits. We saw a further decline of those enrollments. All of that leads to a major deficit in the university of about $7.6 million. Now, one of the concerns that came out Thursday, and I've heard since, is that you've only been here 4 months and we didn't know anything about this, and why did you walk in here and make these cuts? Well, let me correct something that I think is really important for everybody to understand. The university has been aware of these and been talking about these challenges for quite a time. And whether it be the negotiations with the faculty union or other avenues, we've made this very, very clear that the world is changing and we have to be able to deal with that. So much so that I think it's really important. And again, as a new person in this institution, I can't believe that this was not well known by the university community. Since 2009, 2010, we have cut more than $16 million out of this university. That's both operating budgets, including all departments, and that also includes letting go of more than 50 non-academic staff in this university over that period of time. Plus, it means salary freezes for the last 3 years for the non-faculty staff and benefit cuts for those employees. This has been an ongoing, dramatic set of events that the university has been trying to get its finances in shape to be able to deal with this highly competitive, changing marketplace. So, after looking at all the situation and looking at the enrollment declines that have continued now for 6-7 years, when you have a deficit of $7.6 million, and like your own personal finances, you have to pay your bills. And so we felt that the situation was so urgent and so important that we had to make these very, very difficult, and believe me, unpleasant cuts in the university that finally moved over into the academic side of the house, which now directly impacts you from an academic standpoint, more so than in the past, which may impact you a little bit more on the operating budget or on the student life side and so forth. But now it has to incorporate the entire university. And that's where we led to the decision to remove, close 14 academic programs and transition 3 of our programs from majors to minors. And the result of that, and doing everything we can to have the least amount of impact on students, faculty, and staff, those reductions in those programs, or those curtailments, will result in the laying off of 14 full-time faculty, the elimination of 2 clerical positions, and many of those folks will probably be reassigned, and the elimination of 5 vacant faculty positions, openings that we're not going to fill. And so you may ask, well, how did you make the decision on which programs to make those cuts? And I got to tell you, it was after a lot of give and take, a lot of iterations, a lot of analysis back and forth with my cabinet team. obviously the academic affairs team, everybody really kind of giving their input into all of this. We really were driven by, one, obviously our student-centered mission, but also the low enrolled programs, those programs that have low market demand, and of course we studied their elective options and other degrees. So we tried to figure out ways in which we have the least amount of negative impact on all those individual students, faculty, and staff, but also be able to generate enough savings to allow us to begin to put some of those savings towards two things really. One is deficit reduction, and by the way, these cuts, as you know, are going to total about $2 million in about 2 years' time. And so when you have a 7.6 current deficit, obviously $2 million is not going to do the whole thing, but it helps move it in the right direction. But also taking a portion of those savings and helping us to invest in new programs, new delivery methods, and new things for the university to continue to grow. So it has to have both a growth strategy and a deficit reduction strategy. Now, as I told the faculty and staff, and I know for every person in this room, and I can see by your signs, yes, I mean, that's the business case. And believe me, it's all done with the idea of how do we make Rider University stabilized and become even stronger in the future. If we do not make these tough decisions, I can tell you that in a year or two, we'd be having a very different conversation. A conversation that has even more cuts and more draconian cuts that really cut to the core, even beyond what we're already doing. You can't simply ignore the economics of the situation. I know we're not a for-profit operation, we're an educational institution, and we are a nonprofit. But that still means you have to balance your books. And that becomes, how do we make those investments to attract more and more students, the best faculty, the best staff to come in this university? And having said all that though, I do know this is very personal. It's very, very personal to those people, including you, faculty and staff, who are personally affected by this, whether it be losing a position, whether it be losing your major, having your major go from a major to a minor. We do everything we can to try to make the impact as least negative for as many individuals as possible.
Every single person.
So with that, I will now open it up to questions and answers, and obviously the gentleman back there really has a lot to say. And by the way, the questions, my colleagues will share in answering the questions based on the specificity of the questions. So I'll turn to the SGA staff to do the selecting of questioners. Thank you very much for your patience.
All right, can we get somebody from this section? Hands up.
Okay, so if you've been reading the news lately, we all know that geoscience and environmental science...
If I may say, if you can introduce yourself and say your year and your major.
My name is Amber Dell'Omo. I'm a junior geoscience major, and these are all like part of the geoscience community, the GEMS community. And if you've been any way updated in the news lately, you would understand that this is a very, very important upcoming program that you should not cut. That would be foolish for you to cut. This program is what is today's future. We find oil, we find water, we find any kind of resource you could ever imagine. Now you're cutting this from this school. And global warming, that could affect us. The sea level rising, I don't understand what's your problem. And Dean Campbell and Donna Jean, you guys have been here, I'm assuming longer than he has been. Why haven't you, I mean, I understand he's coming into a very financially unstable school, but why haven't you guys stepped in before this? Why haven't you done anything before it became this bad?
Granted, I have been here 2 years longer than Dr. Dell'Omo, so yes, I have been here, and we have been looking at ways that we could try and rectify these positions. And so I'll go back to the $16 million we've cut out of the budget. Several cuts have been made to the budgets in academic affairs without impacting instructional costs. We did go through a negotiation with the union in the summer of 2014, and for the first time we're successful in getting a wage freeze last year. And so we have been attempting to do something about this. It's not as if we've been sitting by waiting for it to happen so we could have this moment now. We have been doing something all along.
What about the students though? You guys decided about money for you guys, but what about the students who spent $100K a year to come here?
Well, and we keep that in mind, of course. Part of this financial challenge we have affects you personally, because when there's these deficits, when you're not being cost efficient, the person ends up paying for it are the students. We try to make the students the affordability issue as much as possible. And yes, every program on this list, you can make a very passionate argument for keeping. There's no question about it. And we went through the same debates ourselves. There's not a program here that you could ever call frivolous, that's not important to an institution, and you would love to have all these programs continue with vibrant enrollments to move us forward. We're all there with you. But at some point in time, you've got to make the decision of where you're going to reallocate some of your resources to, again, to keep the affordability issue and the progress of the university moving forward. I understand what you're saying about your major. And again, we went through those kinds of debates on every single one of these majors. And I know every person in this room who's affected by this can make the same argument you did. And I understand that, but at some point in time, a decision has to be made.
This section?
Yeah, I'll take that.
I made eye contact with this guy.
Okay, so my name is Enzo Bonelli. I'm a junior. You, me, and a few other econ majors, we had a little meeting. I just want to know, you're an econ major yourself, you understand. You said that econ was obsolete. You said that you related econ to a typewriting class, that it should once be offered and then it's obsolete. And I have the other two people sitting right here that you said it was obsolete along with the other majors, that's why you had to cut it. I want to know why, or like how, or what like convinced you to say that that's obsolete. Because right now, I don't know if you noticed that we're in like almost a financial crisis. So how, I don't understand how you're gonna put a major to a minor and then expect like for people to understand how the economy is going with those cuts.
Well, first of all, you are correct, I was an economics major. You are incorrect that I said economics is obsolete. It's clearly not, but again, and that's one of the reasons why it was really important for us to, again, looking at enrollments, looking at market trends and so forth, it was important for us to at least take economics in the business program to a minor, to give students the opportunity to take those economics courses. Obviously, you have to have the economics for the business core and for the core in the university, the macro and micro. And the idea of saying maybe you can combine that minor with another major that gives it as, maybe not as equal of an experience for the student, but at least the better chance of having a powerful academic experience with majors like finance or other programs that are out there. So again, it comes down to you have to make some decisions, and this was one area that we had to make that decision. But believe me, I did not say economics is irrelevant. Now, it's always been described as dismal science, but that's an academic discussion. But it's clearly important, as all these programs are. But my point about typing is just to say, over time, as changes occur in the marketplace, as changes occur in the environment, every institution, when you have limited resources, are going to have to make reallocation decisions. You hope you never get to the point where you have to make them this dramatic, with involving 14 programs and 3 majors to minors. You should be able to do this on a gradual basis, but it is a reality of any academic institution. We don't teach Latin anymore, all right? Now, you can make an argument that Latin is very important, But again, it's the times change and you have to make some adjustments. And they're never easy adjustments, particularly by those who are personally affected.
So you're making adjustments, but the science that gives you the knowledge to make those adjustments, econ, to understand the market demand, you're gonna diminish that to a minor. That's what you're telling me.
Well, I'm telling you, there's something called supply and demand, and that is part of the equation. We do look at the level of demand based on current enrollments in terms of trends in enrollments in economic programs, as well as any of these programs. So yes, those were factors, not the only factors, but they were factors given serious consideration, and decisions were based on some of those factors. So you should know better than anybody, as an econ major, that the risks of the laws of supply and demand that you have to take into account. It's not the only factor, but it is a factor you have to take into account.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm a business education major. My major was cut along with several other people's. The business side of my major, aside for now, I'm an education major and I'm very passionate about everybody getting the education they deserve. And I feel that cutting this amount of majors is not allowing people to get the education they deserve or the education that they came here for. Now, from the business side of my brain, because I do look at things on a business side because business education. Well, pause on that real quick. But my major is an extremely rare major, and I came in one of 3 people. As a freshman, I was one of 3 people with my major when I came in. Now we're up to, I want to say, about a dozen or so people. So within the last 2.5 years, we've grown from 3 people to about a dozen. So we're growing. And there is a need for business education. And I came into this program because Ryder had it. I fell in love with the campus when I first came, and I was between business or education, and I came to a symposium for education, and I found the business education major, and I was like, that's perfect because I don't want to waste time studying business just to go back to school for education. So I just want to, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, so I can go back to school, so I can go through school and get the job I want. So my business side of this whole thing is, so I went to the RA meeting because I'm an RA, and with Donna Jean and Dean Campbell, and you guys were talking about transferring if need be, or if students would have transferred, their degree would have been the same at any other university. That's not true for business education because it's such a rare program. It's the only school in New Jersey, and I did look at schools outside the state of New Jersey, and it's very difficult to find my major. So I'm concerned for my degree when I get out of school. And also, going back to the business side of things, you guys are looking to, even though you're cutting 14 programs, you're looking to implement new programs, and I want to know how that'll gain money for the university and where you're finding this research for bringing in these new programs, because it's demographics of the university, population, diversity, and everything about this university. What other universities similar to Ryder are you finding this information from?
Well, I appreciate the passion you have for your discipline, believe me, but I do have to correct you on the numbers a little bit. The business education, in terms of first major, there's only 5 students in the program. And actually that's the entire program, because there's no second or third majors either. So there's only been 1, I think, freshman that came in this year. So that one, I know it doesn't answer your question in terms of your own personal passion, but that is one that clearly the numbers are going down, not just at Ryder, but throughout the country where they have business education programs going down. It's just not an attractive major. But the other thing is, you made a reference to students coming in and having things changed. And that's probably one of the biggest concerns we had, not wanting to really sort of turn the world too much upside down for those students that came here. And that's why we look very closely at, when we do our analysis, how many students are juniors and seniors, and how many are freshmen and sophomore. Because as you know, we've made a commitment that juniors and seniors will get them through their majors, even if they're being cut. We'll get them through. And the freshmen and sophomores are obviously more problematic because these cuts are going into effect. We're going to try to be as creative as we can, particularly for the sophomores, because we'll see what we can do to help move them forward. We're not guaranteeing anything. Freshmen obviously is the most difficult group. And that's why I'm sitting down with every counselor and advisor to each student to kind of work through your personal situation. We want to have this be as least amount of negative impact on a student based on their passion and for the majors they came in for, but we can't guarantee it for the freshmen and sophomores. Tanji, you want to add to?
Well, as we mentioned at the meeting we had with the RAs, RDs, and with the student government on Thursday, as Dr. Dell'Omo just said, we are working and we have sent out emails to all of the impacted students asking that they come in and speak with their academic coordinators. It is possible that for some of these majors that are not real sequential in terms of which courses you take when, that our sophomores are going to be able to complete their degrees as well. In terms of the major like business education, as I mentioned Thursday night, the faculty member involved in that program who is still going to be here has agreed that he's going to work with every student in that program to make certain that they can graduate. You asked about our new programs. We have done some very thorough market research, and it's not just us doing the market research. We work with outside firms who also help us with the market research. We look at the College Board that tells us in terms of SAT takers, for instance, what the intended majors are, and we look at also the workforce needs in the region and what people are looking for when you graduate. So we do very thorough market research when we look at the new programs that we want to implement here on campus.
Cite your sources.
We use the Educational Advisory Board along with the College Board, and there is a marketing firm that I'm sorry, I had to have Jamie O'Hara here from Enrollment Management, but I do know that particularly with the new programs we've just created, we use Educational Advisory Board.
And just to give you an example, the 3 new programs that we've had, healthcare management, sport management, and criminal justice, I believe today they have about a total of 220 some odd students already in those programs. So you can see there are trends in the industry that we're constantly keeping on top of. I can tell you, for example, the fact that we have very little, if any, computer science in this university is a real challenge for us. It's a major challenge. That's the most popular major today in college and universities across the country, particularly comprehensive universities such as Rider. And it also is one where you're getting the most jobs and variations of computer science and technology programs. That's just one example. That's part of the rejuvenation process we have to go through to figure out how can we make the university even more attractive, both for current students but also for prospective students.
Hi, my name is Will. I'm a senior. So obviously this has not been the greatest PR for Rider University. And my question is, how does Rider's PR team plan on spinning this incident to negate the negative effect that it will no doubt have on enrollment, which is after all why we made the budget cuts in the first place? And furthermore, as a graduating senior, I'm going to be looking for jobs in May with a sociology minor. And I want to know what the university will do to ensure that my degree and the rest of the graduating seniors' degrees are not devalued as a result of the issue.
Well, again, these moves are being done to strengthen the university, strengthen the degrees that we have. So when you do go out into the marketplace, you are seen as coming from a university that is vibrant, successful, and exciting and progressive. And so that's all part of the whole equation that we're looking for. Yes, this has would you prefer not to make these announcements? Absolutely. Does it put Rider in the press in a way that I prefer not to be in the press? Absolutely. But by the same token, whether it's organizations or the average citizens out there, understand with the issues of affordability of higher education today and the ability or lack of ability for a lot of college students to get jobs and coming out with extreme amounts of debt, we are under fire of being more relevant and practical for the students to be able to have those opportunities to be successful. And so there is, right now, yes, there is negative reaction by poor people. But in the long term, people in the marketplace, prospective students and families will recognize that we're probably doing the right thing to strengthen the university as opposed to hurting. Because conversely, they know if you continue to ignore these problems, it could be really dangerous for an institution. So yes, I understand your question. We think about it, we thought about it, and there's a lot of input in that, but I'd rather take the hit short term to know that Ryder is on the course of being stronger as opposed to weaker.
Can I want to follow up though on the value of your degree. So we are not the first institution to cut programs. The degree is not devalued. It is still a Ryder degree, and we are still here, and it still carries the Ryder name. And you have earned that degree, whether or not that program is going to be here 5 years, 10 years down the road. You came in, you took the courses you were required to take, you convinced the faculty that you learned what you were supposed to learn in those courses so that you earned credit and you earned a degree. Your degree is not devalued because we are not offering the program in law.
By all means.
We're back here. Hi, my name's Eric again. Mr. Dell'Omo, and wherever you are. So, I apologize for some of the disrespect I had earlier, however. Oh, I apologize for some of the disrespect I had earlier. However, you disrespected our entire Ryder community by not involving any of us in this decision. And you cite these numbers about people affected. However, I think it affects every single person in this room. I think it affects everyone, whether it be alumni, whether it be current students, whether it be future students. You're destroying the credibility of our institution. So you're citing a firm, correct, Donna Jean? That you're citing? Yes?
Could you repeat your question?
You're citing a firm for the statistics that you're saying that we should make these decisions, correct?
No. A firm?
Yeah, for your financial
No. We use, listen, there's probably, 150.
That's why I heard it, so I'm telling you.
But we use data, like you use data when you do research. We use data from a lot of sources, plus our own experiences and analysis of the market trends. We spend all our time looking at this kind of stuff. So your point is, do we turn to a firm to make the decisions? Absolutely not.
May I ask who was involved in this decision making to cut these majors and cut the professors' jobs?
It was the cabinet. It was down further in academic affairs and Donna Jean's team, and it was the board of trustees.
Okay, so what about the professors who were affected? What about the students who were affected? Or what about the professor I saw in my class about to cry because someone he'd been working with for approximately 30 years, you come in after 3 to 4 months and cut his job without asking him any sort of input? Or what about the parent of a freshman or sophomore who was undecided and then declared one of those majors you just cut? What then? Are you going to reimburse the money that they paid? And you make a decision and forced me to make a lie because you know what I do for this university? I give back. So I give tours during open house for the science department. And you know what I did this past open house? I told students we had marine sciences. I told prospective freshmen to apply to our school because we have marine sciences. I told prospective freshmen to come to our school because we have geological sciences. So you made my truth into a lie without me even doing anything. So I ask you again, how do you make a decision about an institution without involving its community?
Right. Yes.
Well, let me talk about the timing issue, because again, these problems did not come out of left field. This has been building for a number of years, all right? And so it has not been a matter of, oh my God, we found out we have a major problem and the world is changing.
Excuse me, may I say something? So if this decision, right, if this problem was occurring for, we say months to years, then why was this decision told to us over an email? If this decision was in the making, probably even before you were here, correct?
Sure.
So then why were we
It's been happening in universities. It's been happening in universities pretty much since 2008. That
This is
the
my
world
question.
has
Why
changed.
were you informed in email and not informed about any
Can I answer the question, please?
Yes.
Part of the timing issue was contractual. The fact that we have a collective bargaining agreement has been negotiated with the management that required us by October 30th, on Friday or Saturday, that we had to announce the layoff plan, the reduction of program plan by that date in order to have it be effective for August 31st, 2016. If that was what triggered this rush near the end to make these very tough decisions, even though they'd been discussed long before this, we had that contractual requirement, because if we did not meet that October 30th date, we couldn't have done any of this until the following year. So it added a whole another year to the deficit problems that we have. So it's partly contractual as to why we had to, the sense of urgency and the immediacy attached to it required that we meet this contractual deadline. That's just the reality we dealt with. And so, I mean, again, I'm not blaming the union. We negotiate that. It's in the contract. It's just a reality that we have to deal with.
I just have some closing remarks, and that will be it. And I understand other people have questions, which we should ask everyone too.
Take the microphone.
So are you going to reimburse the money for those freshmen and sophomores who had that major and then you cut? And how do you respond to my question about why you didn't involve the writer community in making this decision?
Because it's 10,000 of us.
Yes, you would like to have the opportunity to have a lengthy discussion and give and take on these things. But let's think about that for a second. So we sit there and say, all right, we have $7.6 million deficit. We have problems with enrollment in some programs. You tell me where we're going to cut. The problem, I'm not being flippant with you. I'm not being flippant. I'm just saying there comes a point in time when you can gather a lot of input from people, but there still has to be, we have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for the financial and academic health of this institution. That's my role, that's the CAB's role, that's the Board of Trustees' role. Yes, we like to have input from as many people as possible, but it still comes a point in time when you're gonna have to make some decisions. You cannot open it up to a vote on the university campus as to which programs we're gonna cut, which we're not gonna cut. It just doesn't work that way in any organization, and we just felt we had to make those decisions. Now, if you want to have a discussion as we go forward, I'm more than willing to listen to impact and feedback, but it still comes down to making some tough, urgent, immediate decisions.
My name is John Diaz, and I'm a senior accounting major here. First off, we're all adults and suitable professionals in the real world, so let's act courteous and respectful. We should all give the level of respect that we wish to receive, so just keep that in mind whenever you guys go to speak. My experience as a business major here, as well as the knowledge from my previous 3 internships that I've had, I understand the decision that you guys made, I get it, and I'm willing to cope with it. However, the manner in which the decision was executed was not related to all the stakeholders that it affects. By definition, stakeholder is a person, group, or organization that has interest in an organization and is directly or indirectly affected by its decisions. That being said, I think us as Rider students are considered stakeholders, are we not? If that's indeed the case, then as stakeholders, shouldn't we be made aware of possible upcoming decisions ahead of time so that we can brace ourselves as opposed to being blindsided the way that we are? In the business world, a bold decision like this carrying such magnitude would ultimately lead to the failure of that business, displeasing investors, and also result in the loss of any future potential investors. The decision made, I'm sure, comes after long, thoughtful, and consideration with extensive review of budgets, impact on the community, and all stakeholders, which we as Rider students are. We constantly hear that there's a $7 million deficit. If I'm not mistaken, it may be close to that or somewhere within that range. But at the least bit, a demonstration of a visual budget that details what programs are failing, where the school is operating at a loss, and measures previously taken in the past to avoid such drastic measures. So I guess my question is, what is your validity to us? Is there a visual budget that you can send to us as students instead of just telling us, yeah, well, there's $14 million that we're operating at a loss and you're just gonna have to take our word for it?
Well, you are absolutely correct that you are a major stakeholder, students. There's no question about it, and I acknowledge that totally. And I will say, though, in recognizing that, even though we may not have had this conversation before the decisions were made, or even asked you which programs should be cut or how we should go about these kind of things, remember, we're having this discussion today for things that are going to affect August 31st, 2016. So, yes, I think, you may be asking, well, what can we do to change the decisions? There's very little you can do to change the decisions. It really comes down to how we manage the institution and look for other cost savings and so forth. But this is part of the stakeholder discussion that we want to have with you. And to answer your questions, I'm not asking for you to agree with what we did or agree with what I even said. As long as you understand our position, that's the most important thing for me. As far as budget, first of all, there are 990s out there. The university's budget is a public statement out there. There are filings with the IRS that's readily available to anybody to go online and see the budget. That's very detailed. We have audits that we do, those are readily available. One thing we did have to do contractually with the union was that not only on October 30th did we have to tell them our plan, but we had to provide a written detailed explanation of what we did, why we did it, and what the plan actually consists of. And that's, I know, readily available on the AUP website to give all the data that is out there. So there's information out there that you can get a good idea of. We just didn't make these decisions in a smoke-filled room, throwing darts against a wall. This was really well thought out analysis of this financial situation, the market trends, and the tough decisions we had to make with regards to individual programs.
My question wasn't, is there a visual budget? My question is, how is Ryder going to provide that visual budget to all of us? Because not all of us are accounting majors, not all of us are business majors, not all of us know where we can find the 1099s or all these forms that we tell all the budget. How are you guys going to make it available to all of us so that we can get a better understanding of your
I mean, like I said, it's out there, but let us consider how it might be able to sort of simplify it so it's understood for people who are not accounting majors or accountants. But let us give that some thought, how we might be able to share that. Beyond the technical IRS filings and even this report, like I said, which is out there. Although this is pretty, you don't need an accounting major to really understand this, but let us consider how much we do. What's that? I know, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to be an accounting major to understand some of this. But look, that's a good idea. We'll take it for advisement.
Hi, Greg. Donji, Tony. My name is Christina Orlando, and I have to tell you that I didn't realize how many hats I wear in this university until this past week. I am an alum of Westminster, I'm staff, and I'm a student. And I am an executive board member of APSME. So I've sat across the table from you, and I've also sat across the table from you, Dean Campbell, even just talking about my career choices. Donna Jean, I have not yet had the pleasure. My question is, there's a lot of uncertainty in the room, a lot of uncertainty. You've cut $2 million from the budget. I had the privilege of being I'm not sure I could say privilege, opportunity of being in the meeting last Thursday. And hearing that side of things, I have the other opportunity of being in the sociology department, which was affected. My own job was affected. I am no longer going to be working on this campus. Sorry. My question is, you've cut $2 million from the budget. What is your plan for the other 5? Which majors are next? What's going to happen? Because a lot of the students are thinking I thought I was safe. I thought I was important. I had this major, and I came into Ryder for the small class sizes to see with my, to be with my professors. And I can tell you from my own experience, I know that some of the students think that the professors are making beaucoup bucks. Maybe in some of the business courses that might be true because they have other jobs and they teach because they enjoy teaching after their day jobs. But we have a lot of people here who are scholars by trade, who publish, who are here because of their passion to teach, because of their research, and they're losing their jobs. So we've already cut philosophy, which is major for liberal arts core. We've cut sociology and humanities. What's going to happen next? Do you have yet a plan as to what it is that you're planning on doing for next year after the 2016 academic year? Because, I mean, right now I'm in human resources management, but I don't know if this is a fad major or if this is a major that's going to stay here.
I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, believe me, we prefer not to have further cuts. I mean, this is not, you don't grow a university by cutting it. I'll be the first to admit that. So hopefully this will be the major cuts that we have to do going forward. Now, I'll never say never, no one ever should, but what we do want to encourage to continue operating this university, we have a strategic prioritization process going on in looking at all programs, both academic and non-academic in the university. I hope we can continue doing that, although I understand that some people are resentful and don't want to participate in that process anymore. But hopefully it's important so we can begin to tweak things as opposed to having these kinds of dramatic types of decisions made. And that's just reality. But we also need to look at developing new programs. There's got to be a growth strategy to this. As I said, it can't just be $2 million to try to solve deficit. It has to be a large portion of it, but we need new programs to make the university even more attractive. Because again, we'll have the record number of applications, record number of admits, record dollars for financial aid, and you're still not getting students here. Part of the problem is we don't have all the programs that people really want and need. So we have to look at all the pieces of the equation to make sure we have the right balance. Right now we are very out of balance, and we're trying to balance it. So no one wants to go through these kinds of cuts again. Believe me, whether it be for the students, faculty, the staff, the public, prospective students, the image, yeah, all those things are going to be adversely affected by this. You don't go into this blindly and carelessly, because these are very, very tough decisions that can have a long-lasting impact. There's got to be growth attached to it, and I hope, working with the faculty, that we'll be able to continue growing more programs on a relatively quick manner and be able to adjust and be more nimble as an institution.
Hi, my name is Josh Gardner. I'm a freshman piano major from Westminster Park College. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank both the SGA and you for taking questions, because as a confused and sometimes frustrated student, it is very, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to ask, at least as to why this is happening. My question relates mainly to piano majors. As a music major, music credits are not transferable to other colleges. So if we decide to continue in the degree that we wanted to come here for at another college, we will have to essentially start over as a freshman next year. So I guess the frustrating part for us as freshmen is that, especially with music, it was such a dream for us. Westminster Choir College was our dream. It's the only college I applied to. It's the only college multiple people applied to. So as frustrating as it is, we're willing to take this because we understand the decision. However, it's frustrating if we decide to continue in the dream that we want to chase and transfer to a different college, we will have to essentially start over, and no compensation has been offered financially to us. So my question is that an option? Would it be agreeable or possible for us to be offered some form of compensation, considering that we would essentially have to start over should we transfer to a different college?
Well, the first answer is no, we have not, that was talked about, but we have not agreed to do that. Our first focus was to try to work with every student affected to see how they might be able to remain at Rider and do everything we can to make that happen. But we are not in a position of paying people to transfer, if that's what your question is. We're looking again to sit down and really try to figure out, can a person stay? Do you want to answer that?
I would just say that what I think we need to be doing for the piano majors at Westminster is, I know Dean Cheftel has reached out to the students there, and I think what we really need to do is take the time to sit down with y'all and have some lengthy conversations to see how we can help you stay here and get that degree.
You know, one thing I do want to mention, though, I think this didn't come out too clearly in our discussion with the faculty and staff on Thursday. You know, we announced these program cuts and some programs going to minors. It doesn't mean that courses in some of these areas are not going to continue. I'll give you an example. French as a major is going to be eliminated, but we're still going to offer first year French at the university. Obviously, courses in econ, entrepreneurial studies, philosophy, sociology are all going to continue to be offered to allow students to complete those minors and some other requirements. Econ I mentioned already. So it gets down to individual programs, and that's why it's really incumbent upon you to sit down with your advisors to talk about how we map these things out, particularly for the freshman and sophomore, but everybody actually.
Hello, my name is Angelo Valentine. I'm a freshman German and poli-sci double major. My question is mostly about the languages. How it said not all classes are being removed, but why not make some of them minors? Like, why not make German a minor? Like, how urgent was this decision that everything had to be made so abruptly, and how come the incoming freshmen weren't perhaps warned that it is possible that this major that you've declared will have to be maybe considered a minor, even though that's not true in the case of German? It would have probably softened the blow a little bit, because it was rather abrupt.
Well, we didn't know a lot of these decisions when students were applying in the spring and being accepted and making their commitments to the university. So, you know, we knew. I was brought into the discussions back in March that there was some serious financial issues that the university had to deal with, and but the level of detail had really accelerated come the summer after looking at other ways of doing this, and it came down to really sort of late in the process to decide where we're going to seek the savings based on enrollments. And again, enrollment's not the only driving force in here, but again, you look at German, for example, there's only 2 majors in German. Now you might say, well, why don't you make it a minor? Well, you still have the cost of teaching those sections, and so it's, again, I know it's not a comfortable decision for you personally because it obviously affects you directly, but from a university-wide basis, it's really one of the programs that we had to make a decision on. Tanji, you want anything to add?
To answer your question about why didn't we let you know before you got here, we've known since I got here. I started hearing about the financial challenges we had at this institution, so that we did know. We did know by the end of May, 1st of June, that we had missed our enrollments and that we had to make some tough decisions there regarding budgets. And so in academic affairs between last year and this year, we cut out $1 million within our budget without impacting the instructional costs. We then sat down and made a very difficult decision that many of the members of our community would have to go into a 3rd year of a wage freeze and have cuts to the pension contributions. We also knew that with Dr. Dell'Omo coming on board that we needed to begin conversations with the faculty union. So that we knew in the summer. We did not know truly until the middle of September that we were going to have to make some very, very tough decisions because of the way the conversations went with AAP. So for an entering freshman who wanted to be a political science German double major, I could not have told you in June, July, August, even the beginning of the academic year, that we were going to be cutting German. So these were decisions that were really spurred by how our conversation went with the AUP. And Dr. Dell'Omo is correct. When you look at some of the enrollments in the majors, it would be very difficult to sustain them even as minors.
It's your section.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, so I only had a chance to like review like some things briefly, look over, like look stuff up. But is it true that you make somewhere around $800,000 a year? How can you justify that?
Well, I can't because I don't make that. Actually, it's come down from $1 million, I heard. Let me, I'm going to tell you. First of all, well, let me explain, because it's a ridiculous statement. Okay, that's why I'm laughing. And it's the way conspiracies develop, where people manipulate the truth for their own gratification. I make $475,000 a year here, with potential for a 30% bonus. I left the job at Robert Morris University with a lower salary of $400,000, but a 40% add-on at the end, which was pretty much guaranteed based on the university's performance. I did take a pay cut here as well from the standpoint of my retirement plan, which I was willing to do because the staff in this university was going from a university contribution on their retirement from 8.25% on top of their 5% down to 5%. That's a big cut in our non-bargaining unit or non-faculty retirement pension. I left the university that had a 9.4% contribution towards my retirement. So when you add it all together, I'm pretty much making about the same thing. And when you look at my total package, it's probably below the market here, and I knew that coming in. So I just clarified for you, so you go back and tell everybody in the university, when they're talking about me making $1 million or $800,000, whatever the case may be, that's my salary. I just told you, it'll be a public document in the 990s come next year, which has to be reported to the 5 highest paid employees. So I'm glad you asked me the question, and I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to clarify. I don't like going around divulging my own personal salaries, as no one likes to have their own salary divulged. But I did it to clarify the situation, to prevent more conspiracies developing that are totally bogus, to get people like you all riled up.
Is there an arm hurt?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question. I'm a double major in criminal justice and sociology, and most of my classes are social classes, so with the department being cut smaller, I already have trouble picking classes as it is. How is it going to affect criminal justice? Because there's currently roughly, I don't know the numbers, but 118 students there. And then going back to what you said about how to save money on campus, I know how the budget works, but I know that I've heard you ate in dailies, but maybe getting a better food service, people will stay on campus, cleaning service, they spray the freaking, what do you call those? The shower and then sprinkle water on it. Like, that's not cleaning. And then,
That's good feedback. I'm gonna let Donna G answer your question about sociology and criminal justice.
So you will have the courses you need for criminology. I very carefully looked. Well, first off, you need to keep in mind that it's not only sociology courses that meet requirements within the criminal justice major. There are courses in political science and psychology that also meet those requirements. But we very carefully looked, if you'll let me finish, we very carefully looked at how many of the courses within sociology are required for the criminal justice major, and the reason we moved sociology to a minor is because those sociology courses that meet the criminal justice major could also be taken for sociology minor. We are going to make certain that our students who are interested in criminal justice are able to earn that degree.
Would you still be able to do that if like our whole department leaves because either they're laid off or retiring? Like, are we going to be sure that we're going to be able to still graduate with those majors?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that junior to senior?
No, we did not. We did not cut the criminal justice majors.
Sociology, like with criminal justice.
Sociology majors, I do think that sophomores will definitely be able to graduate because those courses are not sequential. Freshmen with some very, very, very careful planning may also be able to graduate.
When will we know if we're able to do that though?
You need to be meeting with your academic coordinator who's going to lay out a plan for you to do that.
All they do is rush you to take a bunch of courses.
Hello. Thank you very much for your time. I have a question in regards to the email you sent to the students. One of my classmates and I, he and I are in the only graduate program that's actually being cut. And he and I are at different stages of that program. And specifically in the email, you highlighted that advisors and coordinators will be working upon your status as a freshman through senior status. How specifically is that working for the graduate program, since we're not known based on the typical freshman, sophomore, junior, senior status? I'm first generation everything. Ariel Matos and I have a long journey. We've been here a very long time. We're very close to ending, but we still have a significant time left. Please tell us logistically, I want some details, please, on how this is going to happen for the one graduate program that's being cut.
I was under the impression that Dr. Watson had reached out to the students to work with him on creating a plan of study in that program as well. And again, our intention is with that program from J-term, spring, summer, fall, J-term, spring, and summer, to be able to be offering the courses for students to be able to complete that program. Our intent truly is that the students in that program will finish that program.
Is that including those who also just started the program, or does that have to be a certain amount of credits already into the program?
It will be dependent upon the number of courses an individual takes during that time period to be able to finish that program. But somebody just starting in that program, if they are aggressive, should be able to finish the program within that time period.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariel Matos. I'm in the same program as Jonathan. And just so you know, I'm the director of the Gear Up program in Trenton, New Jersey. We typically send 10 to 15 students to Rider every year. So I'm really concerned, as is Jonathan, with completing the program. I was scheduled to graduate in fall 2016. After this semester, I would have taken 7 classes. I have another 5 classes to go. Due to my work responsibilities, I'm only able to take 2 classes a semester and 1 class over the summer. Now, the email that we got, and just so I don't know if you guys know, but when the email from the president came out, Dr. Watson had no idea that our program was being cut. So we've received very little information as to what's been going on. So my concern is how will, again, students like myself and Jonathan graduate? Are summer courses being cut from the program as well? And again, like what can we do, or what should we, like I understand the business aspect of it. I'm a very rational person, I understand those things. But as well, I've invested my time and my money in this program, and I also send students to Rider University every year. So what is our course of action moving forward, particularly in this organization leadership program?
Again, you need to be sitting down with Dr. Watson. I will reach back out to Dr. Watson and Dr. Sherman, who's Dean of the School of Education, to make certain they understand the timeline, because our intention was this program would not go away until the end of summer 2017. So there are many opportunities there for the programs. We'll sit down and discuss with them the progress that students are making now to ascertain how we can come up with a plan for the students in that program.
Hello, my name is Samantha Rodriguez. I'm currently a senior, double major with Sociology and Criminal Justice with a minor in English. I understand the business aspect of it all just because I've had it kind of explained through a sociology perspective of it. And I know it was an easy decision on anybody in order to make the decision, but I kind of want to ask this hot pressing question to a degree just to make sure that I'm not being misinformed, or if it's just rumors or things going around. But does the deficit also have anything to do with any of the lawsuits we received over the past couple of years, or is this just solely because of under-enrollment? And I'm sorry if the question comes up at this point, I'm just trying to get answers on everything and not be misinformed.
Well, I'm not sure if I know what you mean by the lawsuits, but a university is like running a city. And it's not just, yeah, we focus right now on the students, the enrollment, the tuition, and the costs related to education. But when you look at the university as a whole, there's a whole slew of costs, whether it be legal costs, whether it be facility costs, whether it be counseling services. There's a whole array. And so when we manage that budget, we're managing all aspects of it. And like I said before, all the cuts up to this point in time to try to keep things as balanced as possible have come in the non-academic side. And now we have to lean over to the academic side as well. But it's all facets. But believe me, when 90% of your revenue that we use to run the university comes from students, tuition, room and board, and other fees, well, obviously, that takes on even greater weight because when you have a decline in that category, that has more of an impact on your finances than any other single area. But we take everything in combination. So it's a complex institution, you know, as any university with housing, residence halls, we plow roads, we do everything. We provide health, food, we feed people. It's all part of the complexity of running a university today. But this is the biggest single component, the academic side of the university.
Also, like anybody else, we have liability insurance to cover things like, you know, your questions in the insurance of the lawsuits, and so that doesn't come out of your tuition. We have liability insurance if we have needs. We work with vendors, we work with folks to make sure that there are other ways so it doesn't come from you.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kenny Dillon. I'm a double major in political science and arts administration.
You're the petition guy, right?
I am the petition guy.
All right.
So we know what you're doing. I just want to give you an update on the petition. So in paper, we have just about over 400 signatures, and the petition, the paper version, is all students. But online, the change.org, today we're up to 1,334 signatures. So I'm working with a lot of students. There are a lot of people who are really concerned with this. So we worked really hard into the night. I think we went to bed at what, like 3 in the morning or something. So I just had a couple of questions. So are there budget forecasts that exist which include a projected amount of tuition rendered income for going for the future? So a projected amount of students to enroll so that you can basically balance your budget.
Sure. Yeah, we do. We have about a 3-year projection, and they're not real detailed budgets, but we do lay it out, and we put in there, we model different tuition increases, and that's, in all honesty, that's one of the things we're trying to really control the most is the level of tuition increase. To again, come back to the affordability issue, to make it as affordable for new and prospective students, for prospective and current students. But yes, we factor it out. And again, when these decisions are not made that we just announced, that deficit does not get much better. I mean, it gets worse in some cases. And that's also building in a lot of assumptions with some new programs and other kinds of revenue sources and some additional cuts as well. So yes, we're projected, but it all hinges on what the tuition increase that we're modeling. Because when you look at tuition, I don't want to get into higher education economics in too much detail, but when we look at tuition increases, we then have to correlate that to how much more financial aid we have to provide. Financial aid, by the way, is the largest, fastest growing segment of our budget. It wasn't until 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years ago, the total financial aid that we provided to our students from our own sources, not state, not federal, was about $35 million. Today, it's approaching $60 million. So there's a lot of financial aid going back to students, and we're trying to manage that by also managing the price, the gross price.
Right. Okay, so I have a few more parts of that question, but just really quick, I mentioned I'm working with a bunch of people, so if you notice everyone who's wearing white, that was something we worked with. We're calling Wear White, Make It Right. So if you look out and you see people wearing white, that's what we're doing. Also, everyone who has a sign, please hold it up. These are signs we made last night. We had an organizational meeting and people came out and took a lot of, you see all these signs. Anyway, so how are you going to offset the cost of the cuts as a public relations move, as Will was saying, impacting the research of high school students in choosing a college or university, resulting in a decrease of enrollment in as early as spring 2016?
Well, again, a lot of these moves are being made to, again, free up dollars to not only cover the deficit, but also invest in new programs. It's got to be a growth strategy, and that's why we're here today. That's why I'll be interviewed. We have to explain to as many people what we're doing, why we're doing, and where we hope it'll take us down the road. So that's what I can tell you. We're not doing this just to cut, but rather how do we grow the university.
Okay, so students are already planning to transfer. How are you going to offset the cost of their tuition being lost? Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan and John Modica, for initiating this forum.
Well, that's a great question, actually. I can tell you, as part of our analysis that we've gone through, we've tried to make projections and assumptions on how many people may transfer based on where they are and what we might be able to do for them. So that's built into our model. Now, it's a lot of it's still estimates and assumptions, but we feel we've been pretty conservative in that regard. And again, we prefer not to have anybody transfer, but we understand the realities of the situation that comes down to the individual basis. And by the way, I should mention, I would be more alarmed in this university if I did not see the kind of commitment and passion that you, the students, are making in this regard. You should be vocal in this regard. You should be asking questions as you're doing today. I think this is very, very good. And I don't want you to think that we came here, we were dragging, and we were being, coerced to come here. I wanted to have this conversation as Donna, Jean, and Tony, and others do. We need to talk and explain and discuss what's happening in the university.
Excuse me. I have a question. I don't have a
Well,
Go ahead.
Me as being a sophomore and playing basketball, I don't have time, like you're saying as a sophomore, a sociology major, that we can still graduate with it as a major. I don't have the time in my schedule to take more classes than I'm already taking, so how are you going to change that for me and like for everyone else who has these other commitments that they can't take 5 or 6 classes a semester?
Well, again, I can't address your particular situation, but again, as Don Jean said, get to your academic coordinator as quickly as possible and sit down with knowing your basketball schedule and try to map it out as best you can.
And you also support the athletics department. I believe you have an academic advisor there who can sit down and help you as well. The intent is not that you have to double up, triple up on the number of courses that you take in the semester. We think that we can still put the courses out there that you will need to graduate in a timely manner.
I think. Right here. Right here. Chris Popso, I'm a business economics major and finance major as well, so double major. My biggest question is, why is there really such a substantial deficit? Is it because of student retention and there's not so many freshmen coming in this year? And how exactly are you going to fix that? Because I feel like, you want to put money into new programs, but I think there's an easier solution. Number one, I believe that no one really knows, not that nobody knows, but a lot of people don't understand the affordability of Rider. Even me, myself, I almost didn't apply here because I saw $36,000 a year as being the tuition. And in the end, TCNJB ended up being more expensive than coming here, which is really the reason why I came here. Number two, 7-8 years ago, I heard this school was a lot more fun. Now it's a suitcase school. I heard people having bonfires outside, doing a lot of fun activities, things like that, nature. And I feel like we've lost that focus, and I feel like a lot of kids don't even want to come here because of that. They know how strict it is. They see, security constantly patrolling. I think it's a little ridiculous. So is there anything you can fix in those two situations?
So, now, in terms of the fund, one of the things I've asked Ryan and some other folks to create a little committee. We can sit down and talk about the culture on the campus. Janae is talking about that. Ryan is doing that. So we're going to get a little committee to talk about that. We can't do things that are illegal. Okay, I can't change the alcohol policy to make people who are under 21 be able to drink. I can't do that. But I can't, so we can't do that. So we are looking at expanding Greeks. We are looking at expanding Greeks. We're looking at expanding, other things that we can do. The SEC is the one who spends the student government money. They have the money. They're planning the events. So the more student input we have to get planning events, the more. In terms of security going around on campus, you're seeing them on campus now because we've been asked to step up our security, given the events. And so that we're doing that to help protect our students. So we're working from there. So input from the students, putting together a little committee to work on the culture and looking at expanding the degrees are some of the ways we're looking at that.
One of the things I want to mention is, I know, again, we've been cutting across the universities, and now we finally got into the academic side, but one of the other challenges we know is our facilities. That, yes, we're affordable when people can sit down and really look at the financial impacts we have, and and they have a great experience and they have great outcomes, but it goes beyond that, and that's another stretch on the budget. The residence halls. We know we have to do a lot of improvement in those areas, as well as other facilities. That's a whole other segment of cost, which many times are really the big ticket items. So again, it's balancing those things as well. So it's all part of the package, and we're trying to, with limited resources, you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck across the different segments.
Thank you. Could I have a microphone back, please? It's on?
That's not on.
All right, so Dean Campbell mentioned the retention initiative. I was gonna plug this at the end, but I might as well say it now. Who knows Janae Tucker? Janae's been here for 6 years, and Janae really thinks that Ryder is suffering from a lack of culture, and I happen to agree. So within a new Senate process, we can propose something called a project committee. So Janae and I are talking about doing an open focus group next Monday at 9:45 in the Fireside Lounge, and I would love to see everybody here with me. We're going to talk about exactly what are the major issues. We're going to talk about our major issues that centered around culture and retention, and then from there on, move with staying within SGA, coming up with legislation, coming up with a proposal to the university. Can I see some of you guys there next Monday, 9:45 Fireside Lounge? We're going to go back to Sean's section for a question. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rachel Perry. I'm personally not affected by the major and minor cuts, but someone very important to me is, so I'm going to give the mic to her because she deserves the mic.
Thank you, Rachel. Hi, my name is Jenna Raisley, and my major was advertising, and my minor was web design. Unfortunately, both of those are cut. So, due to that email that I got while I was in class, the next day at 7 a.m., I had to pick my classes. I was left clueless. So, it destroyed me, actually, because I chose Ryder for this major. And now, what I want to do in life is no longer available to me or to others. I just don't understand, what can you accommodate us for? And what can you do to make us feel better and feel safe so we don't have to leave our comfort zone? Again, I'm not certain what year you are, and so I don't know if you're in a group that can earn this degree within the next 2 years and complete the degree. All juniors and seniors are anticipated they will complete the degree. You're a sophomore. And so what I would say, again, for you particularly, it's very important that you meet with Jamie Hall in the Dean's office for your advertising major. I know you were here today, so you weren't able to meet with Dr. Brown in the communication department, but she was holding a meeting, will continue to hold a meeting to talk with you about the web design major. So I think it's possible. I'm not gonna sit here and make a promise. I believe you under promise and over deliver, but I think that you need to be having those conversations with your academic coordinator. And I know that when Jamie sent out the email, one of the things she said, if you've already course selected, please get in to see me this next week to see if we have to make any adjustments. So it's really important you do that.
And those meetings are being made, but what my problem is that people are saying, well, why don't you switch to another major? And my problem with that is I came to Ryder to be an advertising major, and now I can't. So that is, and it's just, I don't understand why we weren't grandfathered in, and it would have been made things a lot more easier. I understand the financial reasons, and I totally get that, this aspect. I understand, but if you were in my shoes, and you just found out that both your major and minor were cut, and then you had to pay your class at 7 a.m. the next morning, you would feel lost too.
I absolutely understand.
All right, so 12:52. This is our last question. And I apologize, so many hands. You all have said some wonderful things. I'm so sorry that more people couldn't talk, but this is our last question.
Then let the rest of us get our questions answered.
You can feel free to send those emails. Send until you need to. Work with us. Work with us. Work with SGA. We will help you however you'd like us to. Can I get one more question?
Please. Say Westminster.
You guys get one speaker. You guys are able to.
Right here.
Okay,
Take three more.
of my majors.
One in each section.
One in each section, so. I said he's going to do one in each section, so you may still stand a chance.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Justina Baskin. I'm an entrepreneurship major. I know I'm turning into a minor. I'm a junior. This doesn't really affect me as much, but I'm really disappointed with the fact that, let me get my notes, that I'm lucky this doesn't affect me, but I'm disappointed that I almost chose a school that was out of state. And they were top 5 in entrepreneurship, and I chose Rider because it was convenient and they made me feel like home. And now that one of my professors, Professor Zane, I'm gonna call him out, he is amazing, and you guys are letting him go, and he's the Department of Entrepreneurship. And then Dr. Shivanti, I wanna say, she's retiring in 2 years, and Dr. Cook, he's gonna be around, but there's an adjunct as well, so there's only gonna be like 2.5 professors here. And you're letting go someone that really has so much passion for this major. And you're making entrepreneurship a minor, but you're just like, I feel like there's not a lot of schools that have this as a major. So this, Rider University stood out to me, and it was very unique. And I didn't transfer anywhere because I really like it here. And I'm just really disappointed that now I'm just gonna be someone else. The next generation that comes to Rider and they wanna be entrepreneurship, they have to be a minor, and that they can't expand. LJ is with me, so
Yeah, my name is Louis Joseph Bartone III, and I'm currently an entrepreneurial business management major with a minor in philosophy. So I lost all of my teachers. I'm in the class with Dr. Zane and Justina as well. And I chose this school because of the uniqueness and of the programs, the ability to take my major and minor and to make an individual out of myself. In my opinion, entrepreneurial business management is the pioneers of the futures of America. Without entrepreneurs, there would be no business at all. There would be no schools, there would be no budget deficit we're dealing with without entrepreneurs. And by taking away entrepreneurial business management and the minor and all of the philosophy department, you're taking away the most unique way for a person to make something of themselves. I'm not becoming a cog in the machine. I don't get me wrong, no disrespect to any other major, but if you're not an accountant and you're being forced to be an accountant, that's not something that I want to do. Finance, everyone picks something that they want. Me, I couldn't pick something, so I chose entrepreneur so I can make something of myself. And now you've completely stripped me of that freedom.
I just want to say one more thing. For the professors that are affected, I really want I hope you can double check and see, because Professor Zane really shouldn't be left off. He shouldn't be laid off, and he really cares. He in class he really cares, and he's passionate about this, and he made me and I don't know who else more passionate about this major. And I really hope you consider that before you lay him off, because he's really important to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is 12:56. Are we ready to call it?
No. No, this is very important to
For
us.
those of you who have more questions, we can stay if you can stay, and we will try to answer as many of your questions as we can.
Are you
Now,
willing to stay?
let me ask, if you have specific questions regarding the major, or how it affects you, and of course it'll be offered, we can answer. Don Jean will be here. I have to go to an interview with the press right now, so I'll stay back for a few more minutes, but
If you have a 110, I would say now's a good time to leave. If you'd like to stay, you have that option.
Thank you, Ryan.